Welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'll be reacting to Lucas Tracy's the most overrated and underrated resumes in the UFC. I stumbled on this video, I stumbled upon this video, and I've already kind of skimmed through it a bit, but then I was like, I heard some interesting takes and definitely some crazy takes. It was some okay takes in there and some crazy takes in there, and I just felt like I'm gonna react to it. Go take for take. Here we stand, give my response or rebuttal or whatever. His opinion, my opinion, take for take, and just go through this video. And yeah, because there was definitely some interesting takes in this one. But yeah.
Underrated or overrated? Guys, we are going to be discussing UFC fighter resumes, active UFC fighters for the most part. This is not a GOAT list, but it's kind of similar. But
probably. But yeah, this was him kind of just reacting to GSP saying his GOAT list, kind of laughing at it. And I could kind of agree, GSP was definitely kind of putting some nostalgia in this GOAT list. Like, he was throwing Royce Gracie up there. And Royce Gracie, by all means, is a GOAT, for sure. But he's definitely in that category where Royce Gracie is, like, a pioneer. Because Royce Gracie is not a modern MMA fighter. He had some fights later on in the modern era. They didn't really go that well. And also, he had, like, a random fight with Ken Shamrock, like, they fought for the third or fourth time, when they both were like 50, and I think he fought Matt Hughes and got his arm broke or something, or was forced to tap. I think he didn't get tapped. I think he got ground and pounded because Matt Hughes was about to snap his arm, and he just got off the arm bar and then just ground and pounded. But my history might be a little bit off. By the way, he got dominated by Matt Hughes. He came back, but yeah, his legacy was in the pre-modern era. It was in back when there were tournaments, back when people just came in with their specialty, like, oh, I'm a judoka, I'm a karate guy, and it was coming down to see who has the best martial art, like boxing. Is it this? Is it that? Is it BJJ? And that's when he was the best. So you can't really include him in a modern pound for pound list because he is not modern by any means. He didn't compete in MMA. He competed in my martial art versus your martial art. And yes, that might still exist. It's striker versus grappler, this and that. But now pretty much everyone trains all the arts versus then people just train their one art. So it was a different beast back then. So yeah, I would not put Royce Gracie, but Royce Gracie is definitely in his own wing. And really it's for the better, to be honest, because look at the GOATs right now. You can look at GSP, John Jones, Mighty Mouse, Anderson Silva, etc., Fedor maybe, Aldo or whatever. It's always going to change. And just in like 20 years, the GOAT has changed like 4 or 5 times. At one point, Fedor was the GOAT. The other point, Anderson. The other point, GSP. Then it was John Jones. Then some people feel like it's Mighty Mouse. Then it's back to John Jones. And then for some reason, some people that don't know what they're talking about, throw Khabib in the GOAT. Like, Khabib the GOAT. But yeah, it's switches up. But what's not going to change is that first chapter, the chapter that Royce Gracie wrote. That's not going to change. So Royce Gracie's in his era, in that time, he is very much the GOAT. And as far as the Mount Rushmore, you can't make an MMA Mount Rushmore without Royce Gracie. So Royce Gracie's legacy secure. Like, these other guys, they're going to change. It's going to be people that's going to make more money. It's going to be people that have more defense. It's going to be people that's more well-rounded. It's going to be people that are better this, better that, younger, taller, faster, quicker, hit harder. Did this in a quicker time, but it's never going to be another person who's going to do it first. So Royce Gracie is submitted. But yeah, it is funny. But I respect GSP for giving flowers to the people that inspired him. All right, let's get to the first one.
But guys, let's get into this.
So first, let's see what he says here. John Jones, slightly overrated, but that's actually not a bad take. Not untouchable, no one is. It's not a bad take, but like, you don't really need to say that. I guess you need to put something there to fill up the screen, I guess. Fill up the box. But that's pretty obvious. No one's untouchable. No one's impossible to pass. Because again, like I already said, 4 people have already, it's like at least 4 people have been the GOAT just in the past 20 years. Like the GOAT, like perceived to be number 1 all time in like this the past 20 years. I say 4 years, in the past 20 years, like 4 or 5 people have been considered to be the GOAT. Not one of the GOATs, but the GOAT. It's been like 4 or 5 different people just in the past 20 years. So back in 10, 20 years from now, it could change the switch up. John Jones has built a crazy good resume, one that's going to be hard to pass, but by no means is his I guess, status untouchable or impossible to pass. Because again, it has been passed, and it's hard to compete with eternity. It's hard to compete with infinity. Like it's gonna be new people coming in, doing that, doing this, doing that. So, yeah.
First fighter that we're going to talk about is John Jones. Um, you know, I think John Jones is just unstoppable, unbeatable marauder, and I just don't think anyone's going to ever pass him. I mean, who's taking second? That's literally what it's like. Who's taking second? Who's taking third? And I honestly think that, people are making it close these days. I actually think that John Jones has an overrated resume. Now, this is the thing. As a lot of you guys know already, when I say overrated, what that means is that he is rated higher than he actually should be. I think John Jones has a good argument for being the GOAT of the sport. I think what he's done in the cage passes basically everyone else, but only by a little bit. Okay? Now, some fighters, most fighters, by a lot. But the fighters that we talk about in the GOAT conversation, George St. Pierre, Islam Makhachev, Alexander Volkanovski, Volk. Volk's not on Jones's level, but in general, there are people that are close. They're close. That doesn't mean they're there, but they're not far back. They're not miles back. And that's the issue. It's like, don't get this twisted. Just because Yuri Prohaska is about 10 miles behind John Jones on the GOAT list doesn't mean that that same thing is true for Volkanovski. The same thing is true for Islam Makhachev. Now, we're going to be saying those names quite a bit, but listen. John Jones fought tubby tubbies. He fought fat welterweights. Now, people say they were old men. They were not that old. Let's be fair to Jones. They were not all.
So it's kind of like a hot and cold, but that's definitely where his take started to get terrible. At least as far as on John Jones, that's when his take takes a nosedive. So, but that is a hot and cold because again he's correcting one part, but he just flat out wrong in the first part. Like the other part, like the other half, yes, like a lot of people like to say that. Like a lot of people, I don't know why my words getting jumbled, but let me slow it down. A lot of people like to say this narrative like, oh, John Jones fought these old, past their prime, over the hill fighters, and they were old. But the funny thing is, look at his first 4 or 5 title defenses. They were all in their prime, especially by today's standards. Like that 30 to 35, they were like 33. Machida 33, Rampage 33, Shogun 28, 29, Rashad 32. Then I think his fifth defense was his fifth defense was Gustafsson, who was 25, 26. Either way, he was the same age as he was. So Gustafsson was like 26, 27 when they fought. Between 25. So I don't know off the top of my head, but they were in their like mid-20s when they fought. Gustafsson, taller than him, slightly less long than him, in his prime or at a great age. So it's not like he just fighting old guys, over the hill guys, and then this whole thing about fighting guys that are this and that. Yeah, it's just a bad take. And it's trying to discredit, trying to realistically and not this trash take, this diminish his legacy or diminish his wins. It's going to be a hard take. Like you might be able to confuse and get this off on people that don't know what they're talking about, people that listen to oh, he's speaking facts. But anyone that got sense, this is a terrible take. Anyone that got any sense, know what they're talking about, know any bit of anything about MMA, be like, yeah, this is a terrible take. But yeah, if you want to talk about John Jones, the drug allegations, the court cases, the hitting old woman and hitting this, hitting that, all that stuff, it's hard to miss. But doing this right here, you're only going to hit on people. This is only going to hit and resonate with people that don't know what they're talking about, are just willingly ignorant. Because you can look at the resume of John Jones and stack against anyone, and it still beat him. You can try to say, oh, he fought this guy. Oh, wait, that guy only had one loss and was one of the greatest fighters of all time. Oh, that guy was one of the greatest fighters. That actually wasn't that long ago. Oh, Glover, didn't he just 3 years ago come back and win the belt? Didn't Cormier, he beat Cormier? Did Cormier get the belt? What about the guy you guys beat? Or that guy beat? Those people, they lose. They can't get a belt. They can't win. They continue to be mediocre. John Jones has beat great competition. The wins have aged well for a lot of them. Like the Bader aged well. And that's another guy he beat early in career. As a matter of fact, in 1 year, he beat Ryan Bader, stopped him, beat and that's his championship year when he became champion. 2011, he beat Ryan Bader. And people gonna try to diminish that, but then in the same breath, they're gonna act like Drew Dober is a great fighter. Like, oh, Ryan Bader, he's trash. Oh, but Drew Dober, he's a good one. What? Like, what are you talking about? Like I said, people like oh, lightweight division is so good. Oh, they have guys like Drew Dober and Bobby Green, and like, come on, do you not hear yourself? Like, you sound crazy. But back to this one. Yeah, Ryan Bader, young, undefeated at the time, tough winner. I think we're like tough 6, tough 7. No, I think it's like tough 9. I think. Now it was like tough 6, I believe. But Ryan Bader, undefeated, Pac-10 champion, wrestler. Probably like 2 years or 1 year older than John Jones. 6'2", can't make middleweight to save his life. Real light heavyweight. Young, gifted wrestler, heavy hands. And they fought each other when they both were virtually undefeated. John Jones had that loss to Matt Hamill via DQ, but Ryan Bader was undefeated at the time, and I think he was ranked higher than John Jones. Beat him, stopped him, dominated him, then beat Shogun, came in on short notice because Rashad got injured, his training partner. Shogun was only 28, coming off a big win over Machida, who was undefeated at the time, stopped him, and arguably beat him the first fight as well. So Shogun wasn't just over-the-hill fat guy. Still a great fighter, all-time great, true legend, true Hall of Famer, without a doubt. Shogun, still in his prime, beat him, stopped him. Then he fought Rampage right after that, stopped him. Rampage had one of the best training camps of his life. True all-time great, legit all-time great. You can't. It's harder to argue that Rampage is not an all-time great than he is. Matter of fact, Rampage has more wins over champions than most of the people you're going to glaze further on in this video. Like Rampage has like at least 7, 8 wins over legit world champions, legit Hall of Famers. So Rampage is no joke. He might act funny, but Rampage is one of the most legit MMA fighters, pound for pound, era for era. Stopped him against all same year. Then he wrapped that year up, I think in like November or December, stopping Machida. So that's really much crazier than beating like an old fat Volk that Ilya just did. Beating those 4 guys in one calendar year, stopping all of them at the age of 23. Yeah, then again, that first 5 reigns, first 5 title defenses, he beat I mentioned those great names first, like Rashad, Rampage, Machida, like the 4 horsemen back then. And then at the end of that, he beat Gustafsson, who was a young guy. Before, to get to that title fight, he beat Ryan Bader, a young, big, true light heavyweight. Towards the end, DC, and then he beat Glover. Beat Gustafsson again. Like, his resume secure. So, again, if you're going to try to make bad takes, just focus on his life. You're going to hit every single time, but to anybody with any sense, that's going to just fly right over. It's not going to stick. It's going to miss every single time. Again, except to people that are stupid. Or just willingly dumb, willingly biased. But it's not a good take. That's a terrible take. But I'll go on to the next one because we hear enough about I think the next thing he said, I'm going to say one more thing about this whole John Jones one. I'm going to go to the next one. He was talking about, what was he talking about? Oh, they're dinosaurs, this and that. And that's the same thing that's going to happen with the guys you are liking now. They're going to come back and say, oh, Ilya beat a 40-year-old Volk coming off 2 knockout losses. Right now, they're not saying it, well, a knockout loss. They're not, and he was 37 years old or 40 years old. Or they're going to say this guy was good. Like, you can say that right now. Brian Ortega, who's Brian Ortega? Like, good fighter, okay fighter, but as far as great, far from it. Yair Rodriguez, far from great. Korean Zombie, far from great. These guys like Drew Dober and Bobby Green and Dan Hooker, far from great. Not like legacy wins by any means. They didn't become champions. They weren't champions in no major organization. They never won no belts in the UFC. Barely didn't even fight for no belts. None of those guys did. Well, as far as like the lightweights I mentioned, the featherweights obviously did. Korean Zombie really didn't deserve that title shot. But yeah, like I said, I could nitpick, and my nitpicks would be more on point, more accurate versus just trying to, because that's how you got to do it. If you're going to diminish someone, you got to just try to go away from the facts and just make dumb claims like, oh, they were fat, this, fat, that. Not throwing the names out there. Then act like you don't know them. Oh, he fought guys that were like Derek G. What do you say? Scottie Pippen and Akimbe Mutombo. Like, that's names like sound like they're dinosaurs. And then also you get eaten up by your own analogy or whatever by saying that, because the dinosaurs of the past, the beasts of the past, are far more scary than the beasts we have in current day. Like, dinosaurs would eat up these bears and polar bears and whatnot, these lions, tigers, and bears and giraffes. The dinosaurs would kill them. But yeah, another case of this biting yourself back with that take. But On to the next.
All that old.
Makhachev. Let's see what he said about Makhachev.
And he.
But let me look at it first. Hear him a little bit. Resume. Let me go back. Let me see how long this video is. I don't want. It's probably 30 minutes. I feel like every time I start talking, it gets to 30 minutes. But 15 minutes. That's good. That's good. Good pacing.
Could be a couple years away.
But let's see. Makhachev. Very underrated. I wouldn't even say he's underrated at this point. I say he's accurately rated now. I feel like a year ago. Yeah, about a year ago, especially after the first Volk fight, he was underrated. Maybe even very underrated. But now he is not underrated at all. He's about accurately rated. I don't know if you're doing overrated, accurately rated, and underrated. But if you are doing accurately rated, he's definitely accurately rated. If anything, he might be borderline overrated. But I would say the more accurate estimation or the more accurate what he is he's accurately rated. So he's more accurately rated. That's what he more so is right now. Because people are putting him in these talks. He is the pound for pound number one. Like, he's getting his respect. He's the number one pound for pound. It was very disrespectful when they kept Volk as the pound for pound number one, despite him beating Volk. Yes, Volk came up. Yes, it was close and this and that. But Islam still deserved to be pound for pound number one at that time. So at that time, he was underrated. Maybe even very underrated. But right now, he's accurately rated. He's the number one pound for pound fighter. A lot of people feel he's this. A lot of people feel that. But the crazy thing, a lot of people acting like, oh, he's only 1 or 2 wins away from being the GOAT. That's overrated. That's crazy overrated if they feel like he's just 2 wins away from being the GOAT when he only has 3 defenses. He just tied with Khabib. I feel his resume is better than Khabib's, in my opinion. I could put him above Khabib. But but I don't feel like he's so close to being the GOAT. I feel like he has a lot of work to do, and he's got to put that work in. And I don't really feel like he's even trying to be the GOAT. And I feel like that's the issue with a lot of these guys. Like, they're trying to, I won 2 fights and I got 3 defenses and I'm undefeated. Well, he's not undefeated, but like I feel like that's kind of either what these fighters are doing, thinking, or what the fans, I guess, like LucasTracy is doing or saying, the agenda they're pushing. Like, oh, well, Khabib is this, Khabib that, Khabib is not this or that. I mean, Khabib's a good fighter, but Khabib's not a top 5 all-time fighter. So they feel like, oh, if I got 3 wins, like 3 good wins in a belt, then I'm top 10 all time. And that's just not the case. It's not the case for Khabib, and it's not going to be the case for you. Maybe it's an argument for top 10, but even then, it's just an argument. I feel like to fully submit yourself as a true top 10 fighter today, with all these people doing all the stuff that they're doing, you got to look to double that up. Get 6 defenses and some good wins. You already got some good wins. Now get those defenses. Rack those defenses up. Try not to lose, but challenge yourself. And then you won't have to argue to be in top 10. You will be in top 10. But like I say, y'all got good skills and good positions. Don't choke it out. Or don't retire too early. Put in the work so that people don't have to assume you into a position. They're just going to have to step you. That's what it says. Don't do half the work so that people had to make assumptions to put you somewhere. Do the work so they just forced to accept you. And they just forced to deal. Like, I got 20 defenses. Ain't nobody going to have to tell me that I'm this or that. I got 20 defenses. Like, can't nobody tell me nothing. Well, I'm exaggerating with the 20 defense, but you got like 6, 7 defense. Like, can't nobody tell you nothing. You are one of the greatest of all time, especially if you have full good competition, which most people in the UFC have done. That are in that GOAT list. Matter of fact, everyone in that GOAT list have full great competition. So it's not a case like, oh, this guy for so much better competition than this guy. Everyone that's in the GOAT list has fought great competition. And on top of that, they have had multiple defenses. So you got to do more than just have some great wins and then just try to get by on 3 title defenses. Because, again, they have done that and more. But, yeah, underrated, no. Accurately rated, that's a better rating for him. He's accurately rated. Insanely good quality wins. Not really, but I would say is of late. Well, his first couple fights as champion were good. I feel like the Poirier fight was kind of trash, to be honest. Poirier's a good fighter. Is he really great? No. Good fighter. Big choke artist. And Poirier's a good fighter. He could be great, but he lacks that key element to great. I feel like you could put Poirier in any league that's decent, like PFL or Bellator. He would not be champion. You could put the best Poirier there ever was in any league, whether it be PFL, Bellator, bring back Strikeforce. Matter of fact, even Risen, he probably won't be champion. I just feel like Poirier is not a real champion. He couldn't even win the BMF belt. You make an interim belt, he might win it, but put him in a BMF, put him in a undisputed actual belt, the guy gonna choke every single time. He gonna choke and get choked every single time. But yeah, Poirier's a good win, but the fact that Makhachev was like third guy to do it in a title fight, and he struggled that much, that's not really a quality win. It's an okay win. It's a good win, but it's nothing to be like, oh my gosh, that's such a big win for him. It's not. It's a big feather in his cap. It's more so the defense than even beating Poirier, to be honest. To get that third defense, I know it probably got some more fans and whatnot, but as far as like the performance he did, it was very underwhelming, to be honest. Given how Poirier has already lost twice in title fights, and also I think by that point got knocked out by Gaethje as well. So yeah, that was not that great a win. It was okay win. It was okay to good win, but beating number 3 to get the belt, Charles Oliveira, and stopping him, then beating Volkanovski, whatever, by an inch or a mile. He beat him very closely in the first fight and beating the number 1 at that time. The third fight, the second fight is not all that good, but it's still a great win nonetheless, because you still are beating the guy they have ahead of you and you stop him in the first round. And being the first guy to really beat him in the UFC and stop in the UFC. So that makes it great. There's definitely stuff you could take back from that fight, but still, I would say that's a great win. The Charles fight is great. The Volk fight is great. Both Volk fights are great. The Poirier fight is just okay or good at best. Is he top 10 all time right now? In my opinion, again, going back to what I was saying, I feel like he's in a assume spot, just like his boy Khabib. Like, you're in an assume spot. I can make great arguments to say he's not top 10. I can make good arguments to say that he is top 10. But he has not fully secured a top 10 spot. When you really look at the course of MMA, not so quote on recency, like, oh, this guy got to be top 10. This guy got to be top 10. There's only so many spots. There's only 10 spots. And like 5 of them are already secured. You got Jones. You got GSP. You got Anderson Silva. You got Mighty Mouse. You got Fedor. You got Aldo. The guys that got like 8 defenses. Fedor, who was like 6-7 years the man of MMA, like 6-7 years on top. John Jones, 13 plus years. Like, that's just 6 spots that he definitely not above those guys. There's like 4 spots. You maybe battling for a spot with Khabib. You battling for spots with Cormier. Battling for spots with these guys and that guy. Like Matt Hughes, people that somebody don't mention. Wanderlei, Dan Henderson, like the guys that have Dan Henderson, the first champ, etc., etc. Like, these guys you got to battle with that you could put above him, or it's an argument that maybe he's better, maybe he's this, maybe he's new kid on the block and the competition he's fighting is so much better. But again, he hasn't really flat out, no debate, secured a top 10 spot. And in my opinion, Khabib hasn't either. But they're, again, in that argument category. But the good thing for Makhachev is that he is still active. He still looks like the best there is right now. Not of all time, but actively right now. He's like the best guy out there right now. A lot of options. Definitely some easy routes he could take here, or less hard routes he could take here, and stack up those title defenses. And he would surpass those guys. And I'm not saying the guys in the top 5. That's a lot of work. But the guys in the lower top 5, the top 10, like lower top 10, like 6 through 10, to fully secure that spot without no arguments, without no assuming, he's in a good position to do that, to remove the assumptions and just flat out be a top 10 fighter. But in my opinion, he's not a clear flat out top 10 fighter. Especially like Matt, he get knocked out tomorrow. Knocked out in his next fight. I bet all that top 10 stuff really go out the window. Versus like when you're truly cemented in the top 10, the losses really ain't gonna knock you out of the top 10. Like, once you're really in that spot, you're not getting knocked out of the top 10. Like, you are in that spot. Just like with Anderson Silva and Aldo, especially Anderson Silva, like, you are secured until someone come out here and start doing more than you. Or at least somewhat of what you did to some degree. And then, yeah. But have done it against better competition or faster or this and that. But you ain't going to be there with doing less than half the work they did. It's just not going to happen. With nobody that had no sense. Maybe to the people that don't have sense, they probably be like, oh my gosh, this guy that has 2 title defenses, he's the greatest of all time. Nah, it don't work that way. Charles Oliveira, slightly overrated. I agree. And he has been for a minute. Even during his title reign, he was slightly overrated because he was struggling against people Khabib had beat. He was struggling against Poirier at points, struggling against Gaethje at points. But he still nonetheless stopped them. And he definitely has a lot of losses before and after his reign. Definitely had a lot of choke moments. Pretty good title reign for sure. It was definitely fun. He has pretty quality wins. That's not the greatest take because when you look at anybody, look at Volk, look at Makhachev, who has, I mean, outside his title reign, who has Makhachev really beat? The biggest win outside his reign was Arman Sayukarin, who's a very good win. But outside that, we beat like Bobby Green, Dan Hooker, like some okay wins. Charles has like what the second win over Tony Ferguson, on the decline. So Gaethje started the decline, then Oliveira got the second dibs on that. So it's not like he beat a Tony Ferguson that was so far removed from his prime or so far removed from being good. He beat Ferguson right after Gaethje beat him. And yes, Gaethje messed him up, but still a quality win. But I guess you say a lack of quality wins. But I feel like when you really look at the quality wins on, fighter to fighter, I feel like he has some of the best wins outside. In general, I feel like he's on the upper tier as far as fighters that go out there, fight, beat competition, and win. And I'm talking about like regular. I'm not talking about GOAT standard, good wins, but like the general standard. Like again, Bobby Green. Well, he didn't fight Bobby Green. I'm just talking about like Bobby Green's kind of like a good fighter. If you're talking about like a GOAT status, like win, Bobby Green's just okay. But you're talking about this in general, Bobby Green is a good win in general. But you're talking about like you trying to be on that GOAT list, Bobby Green don't really register you nothing on that GOAT list by beating Bobby Green. And yeah, Dariush is on that like kind of like okay, but as far as like a general win, Dariush is good. General win at the time beating Kevin Lee. Kevin Lee was good. So I feel like his resume. Who else he beat? He beat plenty of good people because he was fighting so much, like so much. But yeah, he has a lot of quality wins to be honest. A lot of quality wins, more than average to be honest. I would say upper tier, but not the worst angle. But I disagree on that one as far as the lack of quality wins. But let's jump to the next one.
Bilal have better win streaks before getting a title shot. Speaking of Bilal Muhammad, let's talk about Bilal Muhammad. I think he has an underrated resume. I think he has a very underrated resume.
Yeah, Bilal definitely has an underrated resume, very underrated resume to be honest. And people are still disrespecting him, acting like, oh, Shavkat's gonna walk over, like Shavkat, the belt's being laid out for Shavkat. Bilal could definitely um pull an upset there, and it really shouldn't even be an upset. I feel like the fight should be a pick'em. Like Shavkat is definitely overrated. Shavkat's a good fighter. I'm not saying he's bad, but he's definitely overrated. Like, what has he done? Beat Wonder Boy, a 40-year-old Wonder Boy. Kind of struggle with a middle of the pack Jeff Neal. I mean, Jeff Neal did dog Muhammad, but that was some years ago. He might still dog Muhammad to be honest, but yeah, it's not like when you talk about Rich trying to talk about like, oh, this guy has done this and done that. It's not like Shavkat has done so much like act like Shavkat has been held from a title, his rightful title shot. I mean, he's getting his title shot now, but yeah, Shavkat hasn't really done all that great stuff like Jeff Neal, old Wonder Boy, and yeah, who else has he really beat outside that? Old Wonder Boy and Jeff Neal. These aren't particularly great wins at all. And I guess you could say, Bilal beat Gilbert Burns, like much cleaner than Kamzat did. He eventually lost to Vicente Luque. Vicente Luque is lesser than Jeff Neal, but still. Oh, he beat Sean Brady. I think Sean Brady is a better win than. Yeah, Sean Brady's a much better win than Jeff Neal or yeah, much better win than and Sean Brady was undefeated at that time, I believe, and he stopped him. Not only beat him, he stopped him, became his underdog. And he's been on like beating people as the underdog like for like 5 fights straight. But yeah, Bilal is definitely underrated. I could go further than that, but Bilal is definitely underrated. Tons of high quality wins for sure, and definitely winning is a dog. Coming is a dog, winning is a dog, streaking is a dog, still is a dog coming to his next fight. Good skill set, good well-rounded fighter. Definitely been slept on. People were acting like this guy was a scrub for the longest time and just eating up what everyone said about him. But you can't deny him now. He's the champion. And I'm definitely not sleeping on him in this fight. I might not pick him in the next fight. Maybe. I might not pick him to win. Maybe. But he definitely has a hell of a chance. But again, that's not set in stone. I may pick him, I may not, but still got to look into that fight. But Bilal is definitely underrated.
Let's talk
I agree.
about that.
Let's see.
He's got a Rafael Fiziev win, and he's got a okay. Honestly, I think Gaethje's resume right now, I actually think it's underrated.
So he calls all these other people overrated or this and that, and then says Justin Gaethje of all people is underrated. And if anything, even with this loss to Max Holloway, Justin Gaethje is still very overrated. His World Series of Fighting career is very much overrated. What's his best wins like? Has-beens like Melvin Gillard went to a decision with him, a very close decision with an old kicked out of UFC Melvin Gillard in World Series of Fighting. I feel like he started to get better. I mean, he was still good in World. Who else? He had like 2 wars with Luis Palomino, who was not UFC tier at all in World Series of Fighting. Then in UFC, you talking about this win's not that good. Fiziev, like, Fiziev is this and that, but what is Fiziev really? When you put Fiziev's okay to good win. Fiziev's not like some great win. I think at the time for Gaethje, it was a great win, but it's not like the Fiziev win has had a chance to materialize and come back and be good. I feel like anything, the win hasn't really aged well at all. It was good for him at the time, but it's not a great win by any means. And definitely as far as his legacy, I want to say it's such a great win for Justin Gaethje. It was a win he needed, but it's not a great win. And then we got his wins in UFC, who would be like James Vick, Barboza like okay, good win. Barboza has choked and lost many times. Like, he did beat a world beater in Barboza. He beat a hot and cold fighter, struggled with Michael Johnson. Like, what's really his best win in the UFC? His best win in the UFC by far, matter of fact, the best win in his career by far is Tony Ferguson. At the time, he beat Tony Ferguson. Because at that time, Tony Ferguson was like 1A, 1B with Khabib. Like, they both, were right there for the title shot. Ferguson actually got there first, but it was just an interim belt. He beat Kevin Lee. Then he was supposed to fight Khabib, and then I guess they both dropped fights because I think Khabib came in fat one time, so that fight fell through. They came through again, and then Ferguson tripped over a wire. And then that time, like the first time, Ferguson got an interim belt by beating Kevin Lee. And the second time, or the third, fourth time, Khabib got an undisputed belt by beating Al Iaquinta. But yeah, I don't feel like Ferguson was ever that great. But you gotta give him respect. Ferguson was like the 1A, 1B with Khabib at the time, and for Gaethje to come in and spoil that party, that's his biggest win by far. Poirier might be better. Matter of fact, Poirier, in my opinion, is a much better fighter than Tony Ferguson. Has a much better legacy than Tony Ferguson, and that's not me even overrating Poirier. I'm not even a big Poirier fan. I feel like Poirier is very overrated, but I would say for sure he's better than Ferguson. He has a much better legacy than Tony Ferguson does. And is a much better fighter than Tony Ferguson was or ever was. But yeah, at the time, that was a huge win. So that's the biggest win of Gaethje. Poirier win is big too because that was avenging his loss. But can he really like replicate that win consistently? I don't really think so. I feel like they fought it probably be trade off wins and losses, but I feel like Poirier would come out on top if they fought like 5, best of 5, like the first 3 wins. I feel like Poirier would beat him to that. They would trade wins and losses, but Poirier would beat him in that thing. But still, good win. Poirier is his second best win in his career, and the Ferguson he beat at that time is the best win of his career. But yeah, I definitely put Gaethje in the overrated category. People be acting like, matter of fact, for a long time they kept sliding Gaethje into the pound list like he did something so great. Like his resume is not even that good to be acting like this guy is this good or that good. If anything, Poirier is the one that has had the better wins. Like he has had like 2 wins over Holloway, beat Conor McGregor like twice, and beat Gaethje, beat Chandler. So Gaethje like was then and now overrated. He's less overrated now, but he's still overrated in my opinion. That's my take on that. People didn't forget. Gaethje's still one of the most fan favorite people. No, he's still a fan favorite among people. No one's sleeping on him. No one's hating on him. Yeah, he's still very much overrated. A lot of high quality wins, not more than Oliveira. Also, Oliveira beat him too, so he's one of Oliveira's high quality wins. But as far as high quality wins, he really got a very let's really think of high quality wins for Gaethje. Ferguson and Poirier. And Chandler to some extent. I'll say Chandler. I'll just say so. Poirier, Chandler, Ferguson. 3 is not a whole lot. It's really not. He's not just the guy who lost to Holloway. He's definitely not. He's more than that. He did lose aura, but he's still very much overrated.
A slight
Very limited resume.
by Charles Oliveira. A few years back,
Everybody been running through Edson Barboza. It's not like, oh, Edson Barboza is this, Edson Barboza is that. I like Edson Barboza. He's one of my favorite fighters, but beating him not the end all be all, nothing to really be like flexing. Like I beat Edson Barboza.
very underrated. Now people,
And this is a real crazy take. How's the guy who just won the belt and everyone's sizing up underrated? Like how are you underrated when you just won the belt, you just got a big win. People act like, oh my gosh, he has the 2 best wins back to back in history. He's clearly overrated. And that's not a bad thing to say. I'm not saying he's bad. Not saying he's trash. Not saying none of that. But he is clearly overrated. That's going to be the case pretty much with everyone. When you win a belt and you're looking good, you're young, you're in your prime, you're going to be overrated. That's just the nature of the game. And same with like fresh rookies come out the college and they're the number 1 draft pick. You're going to be overrated until you prove it. Like he's proving it right now. But underrated, no one's underrating Ilya Topuria right now. I can't think of not a single person that's underrated him. I say he's overrated, but that's not me underrating him. He's overrated. It's a natural flow of things. Good resume for someone with only 7 fights. I mean, he just really got his first 2 good wins. Bryce Mitchell is not going to particularly age well beating Bryce Mitchell. Yusuf Zalal could age well, but right now, Yusuf Zalal is just like an okay good win. Probably, for a point with just an okay win. But it's kind of aging a little bit better now. It's going to be like an okay good win. Could go backwards because Zalal could flat out just start to choke. But if anything, I feel like, what I'm going to say? It's still not his best wins. I wouldn't say that. But yeah, his resume is not all that great. It's not all that great till just now. It's not like, he fought all these people, Bryce Mitchell, Josh Emmett. Like, kind of like okay guys. Not great by any means. Like, okay guys. Josh Emmett and Bryce Mitchell. Okay guys. Good, but as far as you talking about like GOAT, when you talking about GOAT potential fighters, those are not GOAT wins. Beating Josh Emmett is not a GOAT win. Beating Bryce Mitchell is not a GOAT win. Beating Ryan Hall is not a GOAT win. The ones that are GOAT wins is beating Holloway and beating Volk. Those are GOAT wins. So he only really have like 2 GOAT wins, but people are trying to, put him in these talks. Like I said, his resume just started getting good. Make no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It was good for where he's at, but where he's going, outside those 2 fights, the other fights don't really amount to anything. The Jai Herbert fight showed his heart and showed his grit. But as far as like GOAT, it only said that it writes a picture like, when this guy is hurt and is down, he could still find that win. That it shows that it says something about him. But as far as the win itself and who he beating Jai Herbert, knocking him out, it really don't say nothing about GOAT. But hey, yeah, he only has really 2 solid legacy wins so far. But hey, 7 fights is not a whole lot of fights still to have 2 legacy fights. Some people be having 20 fights, don't have a single legacy win. So in that sense, it's good, but we're not acting like, he fought such great competition in just 7 fights. The last 2, different. The other ones, to be honest, his Volk win is underrated. It's not. You fought Volk after Islam Makhachev beat him twice, and he was like 36-37. Like, in one take, you're going to be like, this guy fought dinosaurs, fought this and that, but this guy just beat a Volk who's like 3-4 years older than the people John Jones was beating. Volk like 37 years old, coming off a knockout loss, gets thrown to a power puncher, comes back too soon for whatever reason. He tried, he got knocked out, came back like 3 months later and got knocked out again. And now he's coming back for more to get knocked out again. So, the Volk win is not underrated. It's overrated. He's overrated. His win over Volk's overrated. By no means am I saying he's trash. Again, he's a great fighter. But he has a lot of work to do. A lot of work to do. And again, I already skimmed through this video, so there's no need for me to waste more minutes hearing what he said. But what he did say was that, I feel like Ilya with 2 more wins, he's on the top 10 list. Like, again, how many people can fit into a top 10 list? Who is he moving out of the top 10 list to get into the top 10 list? Again, he has some great wins, but the Volk win is overrated. It's still a great win. It's a great legacy win, but it's definitely overrated. Given the version he did fight a Volk. And Max win is good. Great win all time. But he still got a lot more to do. And by no means should you feel comfortable. Like, should he feel comfortable feeling like he's done so much just yet? And by no means should the fans feel like, oh, comfortable he's doing so much yet. Oh, he's already done so much. 2 more wins and he's on the GOAT list. Or he's top 10. I can see if he gets the Makhachev fight and he beats Makhachev, dang, yeah, he's top 10. But it's too early for that. You just got the belt, just got one defense. Clear out your division, get like 3-4 defenses. That's definitely going to push you up that GOAT list. Probably put you in top 10. You get like 4 defenses, probably top 10. Especially given how you did, who you do it against, and the performance that you put on. Probably top 10. Beat Makhachev. You could, 4 defenses and beating Makhachev, you could be top 5. So don't just start thinking like the minimum amount you could do or need to do to be in some top 10 list. Focus on like actually trying to be the GOAT. I feel like a lot of people now aren't trying to be the GOAT. They're like, I want a super fight. I want to make a lot of money. I really don't want to stick around and have a long reign. I want to win the belt. Really, as soon as I get my first belt, I want to fight a super fight. It's not I want to get a defense. I want to get 2 defenses. I want to clear the division out first. Like, it's only a few people really wanting to clear the division out. It was one of them. Bilal wants to clear his division out. Who else? Pereira's low-key clearing out his division. But yeah, it's like very few people are actually trying to clear out the division or actually trying to chase the total defense, the consecutive defense goal. Like, nobody really talking about it. No one's really trying to do that. Everyone just like, get a belt, maybe defend it, but really, I want to be champ. No one's trying to actually defend belts. It's like they're following 2 bad examples. They're following McGregor because he won the belt, 2 belts. He never defended a single one of them. Then Khabib ended his career right in his prime with half the work. And a lot of people glazed him up because of it. And, again, put him in that assumption category. We're like, oh, Khabib, just because he was 29-0, 3 defenses, he could have easily got 10 more defenses. But you could assume this, but did he do it? Probably he could have did this, probably that, but he did it. And it's been plenty of people that we could assume did this, could assume did that, and they don't. Like, they try to go for it, and it don't happen for them. So who's to say that Khabib it would have or would not have happened for him? It definitely helps his career to some extent that he didn't lose, because you see guys that had to try to go further, like Usman. We have seen Adesanya try to go for more defenses. They eventually lose. Like, Adesanya eventually lost Pereira, and then Strickland, and et cetera, et cetera. Or he tried to challenge and he lost. Seen Volk try to go for another belt. He lost, just like Adesanya did. He tried to go for the lightweight belt, lost twice. Came back down, lost again. Like, they try to pursue further greatness and they lost. But we by no means will we start making it the golden standard to start pushing people in these big talks so early before they actually do the groundwork. Yes, you have some good wins, but let's stack some more good wins before we start saying, oh, this guy is a GOAT, this guy is this guy is that, this guy is top 10. Like, nah, put the work in. It's not going to hurt you. It could hurt you. I mean, at the end of the day, you're fighting, but you're 26, you're in prime. Stack those wins up. Clear the division out. You're in a perfect position to clear the division out. Got a perfect skill set. Peak, pretty much the peak in right now. Maybe you got a higher ceiling to go to, but you're in a good position to really work towards your legacy.
Well,
says his Emmett win is impressive. His Emmett win is not impressive. Emmett just a glorified snow elf journeyman with power. That
Overrated resume.
Let me see. This probably still going to end up being an hour, 44 minutes. I think I can wrap this up in 55, maybe less.
Okay.
But
Let's talk about Merab. Merab may have one of the most underrated resumes.
Merab, I could definitely say that Merab is underrated, but I just feel like this guy has a thing against, anybody that, came before McGregor or whatever. I don't know when this guy came into MMA, but it seemed like he came in at a particular time, like probably came in as a McGregor fan or something. So everyone that was great before McGregor was around or before Khabib or just that, he's going to have a thing to say about him. Like, oh, he has a better resume than Dominic Cruz. He does not have a better win than Dominic Cruz has yet. I'm not saying than any of Dominic Cruz's wins, but like, as far as Dominic Cruz's best win, Davalos really does not have a better win than Dominic Cruz's best win. He beat a bantamweight Aldo, who's, again, far from his prime, by holding him. Good win, but by no means is that a great win. Yes, Aldo's on the top 6 all time, but you didn't beat prime Aldo, and you didn't even beat past his prime Aldo in an impressive way. You just held on for dear life. So that's not really a win. You're gonna get the flex. O'Malley, in his prime O'Malley, that's a good win. That's a great win. That's a great all-time win. Aldo's an all-time great, but his win over Aldo is just a good win. O'Malley, that's a great win. You beat O'Malley, he held on too, but you beat a young kid in his prime, in his division, younger than you, taller than you, supposed to win, and you beat him. Great win. All-time great win. Petr Yan's definitely big overrated, but hey, I'll put that in an all-time great win. So you got O'Malley, and you got Petr Yan. And then you got Aldo, that's good. And then who else would be? Oh, Cejudo. I guess, yeah, he does got a pretty good resume. But, well, I'll say he's better than, I guess you could make a good estimate, but at the end of the day, let's stop going back to this, who has he beat? That's a bigger part of it. But let's stack the defenses up too. Because it's not like Dominick Cruz didn't beat great people too. He beat Dillashaw, the second greatest bantamweight of all time at this point. That's probably going to change. But, yeah. Dillashaw is the second greatest bantamweight of all time. He has a win over him, has a win over Mighty Mouse, has like 2 wins over, what's his name? 2 wins over Uriah Faber, has 2 wins over Benavidez. So he has some great wins on his resume. And he has the defenses. And he was a WEC champion as well. And I feel like, yeah, the volatility with some defenses, he could pass him. But the fact that he's ducking Umar, and Umar is young and a kryptonite from him, I think Umar is going to come around and beat him. And all this talk about him being this and being that is going to quickly go away. But, yeah, that whole talk about him being a better Dominick Cruz, he just needs to well, this is you saying it, not him. It's not him. He's not mentioning Dominick Cruz. You mentioning Dominick Cruz. But, yeah. The best thing Dvalishvili could do is continue doing what he's doing, keep his nose to the ground, keep working, keep pushing. And, hey, if he's able to beat Umar, the sky's the limit. But, yeah. Underrated for sure. That better resume than Dominick Cruz is crazy. Like I said, he's in a good position. But, again, a lot of people are in good positions, but they got to do the groundwork to get to that position. Like, they have, like, just like winning, like, you have a job or a task to do. Yes, you might have maybe more than you need in this category, but you need to get more in this category to get to that next level. That's Dvalishvili. Like I said, he has great wins for sure. He has a lot of great wins. That is definitely true. Like, especially like you have me thinking about his wins. He has a lot of great wins for sure. Crazy amount of good wins. But now he just got the belt. No defenses. He needs to stack those defenses up. Maybe get like 2-3, and then he'll likely pass Dominick Cruz. 2-3 defenses. He's over Cruz. Because, again, at the end of the day, being champion, being great is about defending belts, winning belts, defending belts. It's not about all that. Like, it helps doing all this stuff. And it's big, but get that belt, stack it up. All right, let's see.
Time goes on, I think he's better and better for the UFC. I think his performance against Strickland was really good. I still think
Adesanya resume overrated. I don't think Adesanya is overrated at this point right now. I feel like people see that he's on a downtrend. No one's really like sizing Adesanya up. Not to say that nobody's talking bad about Adesanya or talking good, or I'm just saying he's not in a position where people are like, his value is, as far as GOAT stuff like that, greatness, it's kind of here. Like, after the Pereira win, it had completely shot to a whole nother level. But it has dimmed a lot with loss to Sean Strickland and losses to Dricus Du Plessis. He had a good performance against Dricus up until he lost, but it has diminished. But he's still very much in a position where he can potentially get back there. It's a big if, but he still has enough in him that he can potentially get back to being champion. But that's a big if. But by no means that I think he's overrated. I don't think no one's really overrating Adesanya in this current position. Like, was he like he's on like a 2-fight lose streak. I don't think no one's overrating Adesanya currently. So Adesanya is not overrated. Adesanya could lose 10 in a row in his prime and people will still call him a top 50. That's the truth. If you go out there and put the work in, that's what happens. Like Anderson Silva, he put the work in. You got 10 defenses of a belt. BJ Penn, all-time great. Like, you're going to still be all-time great regardless of how many times you lose because of what you did. And at this point, Adesanya is not in his prime. Adesanya was like 35, 36. Still a solid fighter. Still very good. Again, still could very much end up being champion again by some circumstance. Still wants to be there. Could go up to light heavyweight and be a champion. We don't know what he's going to do with his career, but he still has options. But that whole thing about could lose 10 in a row and still call him top 15. I mean, he's still, without a doubt, the number 2 greatest middleweight of all time. He still has like top 10 most defenses in all of MMA, UFC history. We had like 5, 6 title defenses consecutively. So his, like, again, that's what you could do when you have done something like that. These guys come around that you're trying to push into the GOAT list and they only got one defense. They lose a couple fights. They going to move because you only got one defense. It don't take much to move you when you got one title defense or 2 defenses or 3 defenses. And it happened, like, Usman and Adesanya, like, as far as their movement, among great fighters, it moved. Volkanovski, it moved because of, like, Khabib is 3-0. He don't have as many defenses as these guys, like Usman, Volk, and Adesanya. He don't have as many defenses as them. But the fact that Khabib got 3 defenses, he was very dominant, undefeated. When they lose, he moves above them. So he wins without even having to do more than they did. He did enough. He was undefeated. So when they lose, he moves above them, or at least they move below him. They probably were above him to some extent on some people's list. But now, because they lost and lost multiple times, they shift below him. But yeah. But again, that's the privilege you can have to be in the top 15, because barely anybody wins belt. Like, we look at the percentage, like less than 1% of MMA fighters in the UFC go on to win championships. Then even less than that go on to defend the belt. And to win the belt and defend it, like, over 5 times, you submit yourself on that great list. So I would think, is definitely a top 15 fighter. Like I said, more people come and that list going to get shifted up. People going to move above him. They're going to lose. They're going to fall below him. It's like it's going to do a lot of shifting. But as of right now, I can say pretty confidently that he's still top 15 all time. Pound for pound.
I think he's good. Actually, the homeless guy in his last fight.
Let's see. I feel like I talked a lot there. We got about 3 more minutes left. Wow. It probably going to be an hour regardless. But Kamaru Usman, slightly underrated. I agree, especially after what Khamzat did to Whitaker. Kamaru Usman is definitely underrated right now. I feel like overall he's slightly overrated, to be honest, his whole career, because his best win is like Kobe Covington. But yeah, even this thing you said, Kobe Covington was very good. He was very good. Great. Matter of fact, Kobe Covington not his best win. Woodley was, because Woodley was on a tear, and then he beat Woodley. That's his best win. Kobe might be his best win, but as far as his GOAT wins, Woodley is his biggest win as far as towards his legacy. That got him the belt, and he beat a reigning champion who was on a tear. And I think he came as the underdog, beat him, dominated him. So that's his best win as far as, like, towards his GOAT status, or like top 10, top 15 among the greats. That one is one of his biggest claims, or his biggest claim is a win. But Kobe's up there. Like, Kobe, like, his best win, his toughest win, and his most equal, like, pretty much his equal was Kobe. But Usman was just a little bit better. That's how he beat him twice. Close fights, but he beat him twice. But the thing with Kobe is, Kobe actually does him a disservice. I'm not saying beating him is such a bad thing for Usman. It's not. But I'm saying Kobe himself could have made that win for Usman so much better. But Kobe really didn't do much. After losing to Usman, he just kind of waited for title fights. For Jorge Masvidal here and there, but had not been very active. Like, he lost to Usman, then he could be like Jorge Masvidal or something, got a rematch, lost again, and then waited for a title shot by talking trash, then lost in a very lackluster performance to Leon Edwards. But, like, what has he been doing that time? He could at least be like Poirier. Like, Poirier was the interim champion, but Poirier kept working, winning fights, winning big fights. He could have did that. He could have beat a lot of these guys. He could have beat like a Jeff Neal. Maybe could have beat Bilal Muhammad at one point. When he was at his peak and Bilal wasn't at his peak, he could have beat Bilal. That would have been a good time to beat Bilal. Been a time to beat Jeff Neal, the Luques of the world. Maybe to throw him easy win over Michael Chiesa. Maybe beat be whoever is fluctuating around that time, and just add to his resume, like dog out Neil Magny or something. Like I said, just keep adding to his resume. But he really didn't do much work to add to his resume. Like he was kind of hoping that he would get a title shot, and he just knew in his heart that he would win, but he didn't win. Sometimes it pays off. In his case, it didn't, and I feel like that affects Kobe's legacy a lot. And that being Usman's really like his best win as far as his like skill for skill, how they match against each other, prime for prime, and whatever, all that. That was like your best win, your most competitive win, your equal, like your But anyway, yeah, your rival, yeah, that was your rival, and your rival didn't put in the work outside of fighting you and trying to get title fights. He didn't go out there and do the groundwork, and when it doesn't pay off, it looks bad on him, going into the future. Because like right now, we're like I said, the people like Lucas Tracy, like he don't like the people in the past so much. He got so much to say about the people in the past, but this is the people he's watching now. He watched Usman, he watched Kobe, he watched Leon Edwards, he watched these guys, so he's more favorable to you. But 5 years ago, it's gonna be. I mean, I said 5 years ago. 5 years in the future, 10 years in the future, there's gonna be another Lucas Tracy. There's gonna be another MMA guru, another one of these guys that's not gonna be favorable to you because they like, oh, that guy's a dinosaur. That guy's just like, who is Kobe even? Like, who did he beat? I look at the resume. RDA was 36. He was a lightweight. He was this. They're gonna discredit all these wins. Oh, Willie was old, and look at it after that. Willie didn't get a single win. Oh, this and that. They're gonna have every single thing to debunk you, take away your accomplishments, and it's gonna be very easy to do that to Kobe because what has Kobe been doing? Nothing. And you can actually do that. You can't do that to John Jones wins. You could do that to Kobe all day long because Kobe, what did he do? Beat a journeyman, a good journeyman, great journeyman in Jorge Masvidal, but at the end of the day, a high-tier journeyman in Jorge Masvidal. And some okay wins. Like RDA is pretty good and stuff. The version of Willie he beat wasn't all that good. It's like, and again, it's a lot of years just not doing nothing for Kobe. So, yeah, Kobe definitely, I feel, could have added so much more to Usman legacy. I know, like, in the present day, we saw the fight. We know how good they were. But again, 5-10 years ago, I keep saying ago, 5-10 years from now, probably really like 5 years from now, there's going to be another Lucas Tracy pop up, and he's going to have so much to say about these people's legacy, and it's going to be easy to dismiss how good Kobe was. And that's also going to come back to Usman. Like, Usman, his striking was so sloppy. His wrestling wasn't even that good and blah, blah. We got multiple D1 champions, like actual D1 champions, not D2, D3. They were like, saying his wrestling not that good. He wasn't that strong. He was undersized. He really could have made lightweight. They're going to have everything they can want to say about him in 5 years, just how they do with anybody. People come in late to the game, and they're going to have so much to say.
He did beat Leon back in the day.
But yeah.
So let's just say that. Let's not act like...
Usman's a very good fighter. Slightly underrated for sure right now, but slightly overrated overall.
Talking top 5, you're going too far. Yeah, I guess we may as well talk about Volk.
Properly rated for the most part. People still fail to see the gravity of his Holloway wins. I guess, could they? I mean, he was the pound for pound number 1, so I doubt they were not seeing the gravity of his Holloway wins. And I feel like the Holloway wins carry Volkanovski's legacy. Like, his legacy is nothing without... Take away Holloway, his legacy is really nothing. Like, let's just be honest. Without Holloway, his legacy is nothing. Holloway is literally Volk's claim to greatness. His 3 wins over Holloway. Like, beating Brown Ortega, that win not really going to get you nothing. Beating... Yeah, being a champion, that's great. But outside that, like, again, the Ortega win is not particularly no great win. The Korean Zombie win is not no particularly great win. The Yair Rodriguez not a particularly great win. Good performance from him, but like, what have those guys done? What is the groundwork they have done to make themselves like truly great wins? I don't think Korean Zombie has ever been a champion of no major organization. Hasn't put on no great title performances, like even in losses. And yeah, like they just have not really been putting in the groundwork, or did not put in the groundwork. Like they were putting in the groundwork to be good, but like really great all-time wins, no. Only person did that was Holloway. And you can say, oh, he beat Aldo. Yeah, really like, but yeah, it like still heavily relies on beating Holloway because Holloway was supposed to beat him. Like Holloway was younger, he was taller, he was supposed to be better everywhere. And then Volk beat him not once but thrice. He beat him 3 times, and Holloway is very good, as we have seen. Good at lightweight, good at featherweight, very good fighter, one of the best of all time. High on the list. So I don't think no one's not seeing the gravity of Holloway is a win for Volk. 3 times beating Holloway. That's again, that's literally the bread and butter. That's the thick of his resume and was his claim to greatness is beating Holloway. Young in his prime, supposedly better everywhere, like much taller, much longer, supposed to be quicker, supposed to be this, supposed to be that. But he beat him 3 times. First time close, second time even closer, third time he blew him away. But yeah, I would say, yeah, right now he's properly rated. But I would say you're overrating him, I would say. I feel like he's overrating Volk. He was talking like, oh, Volk is this. Because if you mention Volk and John Jones in the same sentence, you're overrating Volk. Let's be honest, you're overrating Volk. But yeah, Volk is a great fighter. He's a great fighter for sure. Top 10, I feel like at a point he was top 10 or it could have been top 10. Kind of in that assumption spot, like similar to Khabib and Makhachev and maybe the Usmans and Adesanyas of the world, like in that assumption category. But I feel like he's more so top 15, kind of like where Adesanya. I feel like Adesanya is top 15. I feel like Volk is top 15. Volk probably like number 13, 12, maybe 11. And Adesanya like 14, 13 or something like that. Something like that. But Volk definitely a great fighter. And I guess right now properly rated. There's definitely some overratedness to his resume. Like, again, it's not as great as people try to make it out to be. But he's definitely, like I said, I'm talking about resume, I'm talking about wins. Because obviously his skills have measured up. Like they measured up with, he was looking good against Topuria early in their fight for a bit. He was looking great the whole fight against Makhachev. So he's been fighting great guys and looking great. He definitely holds up. But when you talk about your resume, like who did you beat? Not just who you fought, who did you beat? And that's what I'm talking about. Like when you look at his actual wins, who did you actually beat? I feel like it's lacking. It's lacking to me. And that's not me hating. It's like it's lacking. It's very limited. Like you didn't get one of the best wins over Aldo. That belongs to McGregor and Holloway. They got the better wins over Aldo, not you. Holloway twice, and McGregor has the best win over Aldo. You got like the scraps of Aldo at featherweight, and it's kind of for the lackluster performance against him. Not a particularly impressive decision victory over him, but you won nonetheless. A pretty clear decision. And then outside that, like again, like really lacking. Like I said, if you would have beat Makhachev, it would have been huge, but you lost. You came up short. You lost. Then you got knocked out. And also, what he's doing right now could affect his legacy as well with his sticking around too long and now coming back and chasing Topuria, who just knocked him out, and only going to get better. And you're only going to get older and worse. Like, going to get another knockout loss. Now you're going to be on a 4-fight losing streak, most likely. That definitely going to shift your legacy up. But yeah, all-time great for sure. Top 15 in my opinion. Could be higher, but I would say probably top 15. For sure, top 15, Volk. And on to the next. Yeah, Dricus is underrated. Despite how he looks and how he how he fights and how awkward it is, it's effective. I think people are catching on. I got to catch on as well. I knew it was effective, and I feel Adesanya should have beat him. I feel Strickland beat him in my opinion. But at the end of the day, he stopped Adesanya, and the judges saw that he beat Strickland. He is champion. He has a defense. The guy was a champion outside the UFC. So the guy is legitimate. As awkward as he is, it's effective. And he's not the first awkward fighter to be great. There's been plenty of awkward fighters that have been champions in multiple different disciplines, multiple different sports, multiple different weight classes. It's not unique to Dricus du Plessis. It's not unique to MMA. It's been a lot of people that have been awkward but have been successful. Like look at Juliana Pena. She's now a 2-time women's champion. She ended the reign of Amanda Nunes for a brief period of time, and she's awkward. Very similar to Dricus du Plessis. Like she's basically like the female version. He's like the male version of her, like the same fighter almost. So that's just showing that could be effective across different genders, different weight classes, different eras. So yeah, don't care how he looks or fights. It's effective, and he is champion. He has real accolades. So yeah, Dricus is definitely underrated. I might not like the guy, but he is definitely underrated. 3 of the best middleweights, for sure. Are they the 3 best? No, but 3 of the best. Adesanya is the 2nd best middleweight of all time. Strickland's probably like top 10. Whitaker is like top 5. So, yeah, Adesanya and Whitaker have definitely submitted themselves as, top 5 best middleweights of all time as far as MMA, Yeah. Adesanya number 2, Whitaker like number 3 or 4, but definitely top 5. So yeah, that is true. And yeah, I yapped a whole lot for this video. I already talked over an hour, but yeah, this video by no means is like a dig. I just feel like he had some crazy stuff he was saying, and I was like, give my take to his take. But yeah, he's clearly doing some good stuff, good quality work here, good quality edits, and there's a reason why he has as many subscribers as he does. He has 100,000, well, over 100,000 subscribers, so he's clearly doing what he's doing. And again, this is not to drag. If anything, if it's a content creator within your niche or relatively within your niche, it's good when they accomplish things. So hate or no hate, there's no hate, but when someone's within your niche and they're doing well, that just shows that that's a level you could reach. That's people you could reach. So if he's a spans and these other guys are span, it brings in more people. And I have definitely seen some people that come from him trickle on over to my page before. I've seen some of that, so, and felt some of that and gained some of that. But yeah. So best of luck to this guy. Keep pushing content, keep getting those views up. And I'm trying to get like you, little big bro. I'm trying to get my subs, get my views up. Been around the game a long time. Maybe expand that, maybe clean this up, clean that up. But yeah, it's a reason why he is where he is. Like, he's doing well. It's a very successful channel. I just feel like he had some crazy takes in that one, and I just had to give my response to them. Probably gonna tag him this one. Maybe we can set up some debates or something. Maybe you can ignore it. Maybe you could send the fans over here and they just like bash me. I'm here for it all. Ignore me, bash me, collab, debate, whatever. But I just saw our opportunity to do something a little bit different, and I took full advantage of it. Did it. Gave my take versus take, and that's really all there is to it. And yeah, I've already been thinking about doing something like this, and I'm gonna do more stuff like this, like reacting to other people's stuff, doing this, doing that, and you're gonna see more of that, in the coming months, and it's probably especially early 2025. Me, reacting to other people within a similar niche, whether more this way, more that way, but relatively in the same sphere. Probably reacting to their content or potentially collabing with them. But yeah, by no means would this a welcome or invited collab or reaction. But we'll see how this goes. Will it be adverse or positive? I don't know, but best of luck to him. Continue doing what he's doing. But that's just my take versus his take, or in response to his takes. And that's the video. I had fun. I definitely yapped a lot. That's also a bit of the humor to this video, this response. Like I said, his video was only like 32 minutes, but I managed to react and do double of what he did. A lot of yapping went on in this video. And yeah, fun stuff. But yeah, like, comment, and subscribe, and come back for more videos. Peace out, y'all.